I met Lena at a friend's birthday party, a small rooftop gathering with soft music and cheap wine. She was behind a camera, capturing candid smiles, focused but relaxed in the way artists are. I remember thinking, she looked like she lived in a world slightly brighter than everyone else. She asked me what I did, and didn't zone out when I said I was a software developer. Most people pretend to care, but she asked questions like she actually wanted to understand. We talked about creativity and structure, about routine and spontaneity, about how opposites sometimes fit. That night ended with us walking slowly to our cars, hoping the conversation wouldn't need to end. We started texting the next morning, and didn't stop for weeks. Messages turned into calls, calls into late-night drives, drives into shared breakfasts and inside jokes. She liked the way I planned things, how I made life feel rooted in something stable. I liked the way she pulled me into new experiences, the kind I never thought I needed. Our first date was at a small taco place, with plastic chairs and loud music. We talked for hours, ignoring empty plates and closing time, both surprised at how easy everything felt. I walked her to her car, and she smiled like she already knew we'd see each other again. The early months were that warm, electric kind of happiness you can't recreate once it's gone. We explored the city, tried new restaurants, took drives to nowhere just to talk. She'd show me her favorite abandoned buildings to photograph, and I'd show her puzzle rooms designed to be solved. We started building routines without even meaning to. She would bring me coffee when I had early work calls. I would bring her snacks during long editing sessions. When her freelance work grew, we decided to live together. Not because we rushed, but because every night spent apart felt unnecessary. We found a 2-bedroom apartment so she could have a studio for her shoots. I paid more of the rent because my job was steadier, and it never felt unfair. I wanted to support her, not just emotionally, but practically in the real world where dreams cost money. She decorated the apartment with prints, film rolls, and mismatched furniture that somehow looked intentional. I added my bookshelves, my desk, my habit of keeping everything in neat lines. The space became us, recognizable to anyone who walked in. Friends joked we were already married, and honestly, I thought someday we would be. We talked about the future with an ease that felt natural, not forced. Which neighborhoods we might buy a house in. How many guests we'd want at our wedding. Whether we'd have a dog or a cat first. I didn't know that peace can be temporary. I didn't know love can feel permanent right up until the moment it is. It began gradually, the kind of shift you don't notice until you're already living inside it. Lena joined a local photography networking group, something meant to help her find clients and collaborators. I encouraged it, proud that she was taking her career seriously and pushing herself into new spaces. Every Thursday evening, she'd head out to bars, meetups, gallery events, places filled with creative energy. She'd come home late, smelling like perfume and city air, excited to tell me about the people she met. I listened, genuinely happy for her, because growth was something I wanted for both of us. But after a few weeks, the stories changed. The excitement stayed, but the details became fewer, thinner, less open. She'd say she was tired and wanted to sleep, that we could talk tomorrow, but tomorrow never came. And then came the name. Clay. She mentioned him casually at first, as just another photographer in the group with good connections. Clay knows a coordinator for a big wedding venue. Clay thinks I should try documentary-style portraits. Clay has this amazing network in the industry. Conversations filled with Clay, but empty of everyone else. If there were 10 people in the room, I only heard one. I tried to ignore it. I reminded myself that jealousy wasn't something I wanted to feed. But there were small things, subtle things, that no longer felt subtle once they aligned. She started dressing differently before the meetups. A little more effort. A little more intention. New lipstick, new dress, new perfume I hadn't seen before. She said she found them on sale, but the tags suggested otherwise. She began coming home later, sometimes past midnight, sometimes closer to 2. Networking went long. Someone got a big job, and we were celebrating. No, I didn't think to text, I was caught up. And I believed her, because I had always believed her. But belief without evidence is just hope wearing blinders. She started guarding her phone in ways she never had before. Turning the screen face down. Changing her passcode. Taking it with her, even to the bathroom. When I asked about it, she laughed and said I was being dramatic. She said I needed to trust her. The irony tasted bitter even then, though I swallowed it quietly. Our conversations became shorter. Our dinners became quiet. Our weekends, once full of shared plans, became hours of separate silence under the same roof. She spent more time in her studio with the door closed, headphones on, unreachable. When I'd knock with dinner or a question, she acted interrupted, inconvenienced. There was distance, but no words for it. I tried to rationalize everything. Creative people go through intense periods. She was building a career. Maybe I was just insecure. But the truth is, love doesn't disappear in a crash. It erodes, one quiet denial at a time. And I was watching something erode, piece by piece, while pretending nothing was happening. It happened on a Wednesday night, one of those quiet evenings that should have felt ordinary. I was cooking dinner, pasta simmering on the stove, and the apartment smelled like garlic and butter. Lena came home late again, hair perfect, makeup still intact, like the night had gone well for her. She sat down at the kitchen counter without taking off her coat, a sign I didn't recognize until later. Her eyes were distant, like she had already rehearsed something and was now choosing whether to say it. She took a slow breath and said, "We need to talk," the words that rearrange your entire world instantly. I turned off the stove and faced her, though my stomach had already dropped into some cold place inside me. She said she was overwhelmed, stressed, unsure of who she was and what she wanted in life right now. She said she needed space to figure herself out, to breathe, to reconnect with her identity outside the relationship. The speech felt polished, practiced, almost borrowed from somewhere else. I asked what space meant, because space can mean many things, and clarity matters when you love someone. She said it didn't mean breaking up. She said it wasn't about seeing other people. She said it was just distance, temporary, necessary. Her voice trembled, but her reasoning did not, and that contradiction felt heavier than the words themselves. I asked how long this space was supposed to last. She shrugged, said she didn't know, said she would tell me when she figured it out. I asked whether Clay had anything to do with this. Her eyes flickered, only for a second, but a second can be enough to confirm what someone won't say. She insisted I was being paranoid, accused me of making things about jealousy instead of trust. Suddenly, I was the unreasonable one. The distance she created became a flaw she blamed on me. I realized then that she wasn't asking for space. She was preparing for something else. She packed that night. Not everything. Just enough clothes for a week or two. The nice dresses. The jewelry I'd given her on her birthday. The perfume that still smelled unfamiliar to me. She didn't pack sweatpants or old t-shirts or comfortable clothes someone wears when they plan to rest. She packed outfits someone wears when they plan to be seen. She hugged me goodbye like I was a memory, not a person she was coming back to. I stood in the doorway and watched her leave with her overnight bag and her careful calm. There was no fight, no screaming, no dramatic ending. Just a quiet withdrawal, like love evaporating into air. For the first few days, I expected a message, a call, something acknowledging the weight of what had changed. But silence became its own answer. She didn't check in. She didn't ask how I was. She didn't ask what I was thinking or feeling. And in that silence, the truth settled softly and painfully. She wasn't searching for herself. She was searching for someone else. The first weekend after she left, The apartment felt like it was holding its breath. I walked room to room, not sure what to do with my hands, not sure what to do with myself. Her studio door was still cracked open, camera equipment scattered, half-finished edits paused on her monitor. It felt wrong to touch anything, but leaving everything untouched felt worse. So I began with small things. I changed the password to my email, then to my bank, then to our shared streaming accounts. Not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. We had always trusted each other with everything, codes and access and shared space. But trust without presence becomes a liability. I sat at my desk and made a list of accounts, subscriptions, bills, anything that tied us together. I removed her name from each one quietly, like unraveling a thread that had woven through our life. I contacted the landlord next. Since the lease was in my name, I asked what I needed to do if she didn't return. The answer was simple and painfully easy. Just notify them she no longer lived there. There was something heavy about how fast the world accepts endings, even when you're not ready. I opened the closet and stared at the clothes she left behind. Not the favorite ones. Not the ones she chose for herself. Just the comfortable clothes, the home clothes, the pieces of her that felt familiar. I folded them slowly and placed them in boxes, each memory carefully smoothed down. I labeled them, not to be dramatic, but because I needed to feel like I had control over something. Control had become a rare currency. Nights were the hardest. The bed felt too large and too cold, a landscape with no one on the other side. I lay awake, thinking about the small moments that go unnoticed while they're happening. The way she used to hum while brushing her hair. The way she always stole the blankets. The way she leaned on me without thinking. Memory became a room I kept walking into, even though it hurt every time. My best friend, Noah, came over on the second weekend. He didn't say I was overreacting, or being paranoid or dramatic. He listened. He looked at the evidence I hadn't wanted to name. He said, "She's already gone, man, not physically, but everything that mattered left with her." Hearing it out loud felt like a door closing. Not slammed. Just gently, finally impossibly clear. I spent that night searching for new apartments. Places with one bedroom, not two. Places that felt like a reset. I found one with tall windows and a quiet street, sunlight that fell across the floor softly in the morning. I signed the lease the next day. There was no dramatic goodbye to the old apartment. No last moment of nostalgia. Just a silent acceptance that the life I thought I was living had already ended. I was only now catching up to it. She reached out on a Saturday night at 11 p.m., the kind of hour where honesty slips out too easily. Her message was simple, almost casual, like the previous 3 weeks hadn't rearranged everything. "Hey, I've been thinking I miss you. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen longer than I should have, not because I wanted to say yes, but because part of me remembered when messages from her felt warm. I typed back, "Coffee shop on Main, tomorrow, 2 p.m. No emotion, no punctuation beyond what was needed. She agreed immediately, like she had been waiting for that opening. The next day, I arrived early and sat by the window. I watched every person who walked through the door, hopping and dreading at the same time. When she came in, she looked different. Not physically, though she had done her hair and makeup the way she knew I liked. Different in a way I couldn't name. Like she had lived an entire life without me in those 3 weeks. She smiled when she sat down, but it didn't reach her eyes. She talked first, her words rehearsed, smooth, carefully arranged to sound reflective and sincere. She said she had taken time to think. She said she realized how much I meant to her. She said being away made her understand what she was afraid of losing. She said she wanted to come back home. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't argue. I let her talk until her voice settled into silence. Then I asked the question everything hinged on. "Did you see anyone else while you were gone?" Her expression flickered, just like the night she asked for space. 1 second. But 1 second is enough for the truth to surface. She shook her head. No, I didn't. It wasn't about that. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were loud. I didn't need evidence. I already knew. I nodded slowly, not with anger, just resignation. Okay, I said. I've thought about things too, and I don't think we should get back together. Her breath hitched, like the air had caught in her throat. What? Why? We can fix this. I shook my head. I don't trust this. I don't trust you. She reached across the table, like she could pull the past back toward us. Ethan, please. I made a mistake asking for space, but that doesn't mean I stopped loving you. But love without honesty is just performance. I told her I had already signed a lease at a new apartment. I told her she could keep the old one if she wanted, but she'd need to handle the details herself. Her face crumbled, the kind of heartbreak people assume is noble. But heartbreak isn't innocence. It's just consequence. She whispered, so that's it. I stood up. Yeah, that's it. I walked out of the coffee shop feeling like I was finally hearing my own footsteps again. Not echoing behind someone else. Not chasing something already gone. Just walking forward, alone but steady. 3 days passed before I heard from her again, and the message was the one that changed everything. She wrote, "It's not cheating if we were on a break." A single sentence that said more than any confession ever could. I stared at it, not angry, just strangely calm, like I'd been waiting for the truth to speak for itself. I replied, "We weren't on a break, but we are now, permanently." The phone rang almost immediately, her name flashing across the screen like a warning light. I let it ring. She called again. And again. Then the texts came in floods, like she was trying to erase her own words by burying them under apologies. Wait. That's not what I meant. I didn't cheat. You're twisting it. Please talk to me. I silenced the phone and kept unpacking boxes in my new apartment. An hour later, there was pounding on my door, urgent, relentless, desperate. I looked through the peephole and saw her, eyes red, breathing hard like she had run. I opened the door with the chain still locked, just enough to see her face clearly. She said she needed to explain. I told her there was nothing left to explain. She said I misunderstood. I reminded her that she admitted it in her own words. She broke then, her posture collapsing as she whispered, "We only kissed a few times. It didn't mean anything." I asked, "A few times?" "Not once. Not an accident. A pattern." Silence sat between us, like a third person who had been there the whole time. Then I asked the question she didn't want to hear. "Did you sleep with him?" The pause was the truth. Her eyes filled before the words did. Yes. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't slam the door. I just nodded. Not surprised. Just finished. She tried to grab my hand through the gap in the door. She kept saying she loved me, that Clay didn't matter, that it was just excitement and confusion. Love shouldn't require translation. I told her I didn't want anything from her anymore. No explanations. No apologies. No promises. Just distance. She begged. She cried. She said she would quit the networking group. She said she would block him. She said she would do anything. But the thing about consequences is that they don't negotiate. I closed the door. Her voice broke on the other side, raw and uneven, a sound I will never forget. After that, the breakdown unfolded in waves. Hundreds of texts. Calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Posts on social media about heartbreak and betrayal. She tried to control the narrative until Clay's girlfriend exposed everything publicly. Screenshots. Messages. Photos. Lena lost more than me. She lost her friend group. Her professional connections. her image of herself. Clay disappeared from her life as soon as there were consequences. The thrill didn't survive the daylight. The last message she sent came at 3 a.m., shaky and quiet. I know I ruined everything. I know it's too late. I just hope someday you forgive me. I read it. I didn't reply. Forgiveness isn't the same as returning. Some endings are permanent, not because of anger, but because of clarity. The apartment is quiet now, but it's a kind of quiet that feels like air finally clearing. There are no unanswered messages lingering, no closed doors humming with suspicion, no waiting for her footsteps. I wake up and the room feels steady, grounded, like my life fits back into my own hands again. I cook dinner for one, and the silence isn't lonely anymore, just peaceful. I walk to work. I come home. I breathe without trying to measure someone else's distance. Sometimes I think about how easily everything changed, how love can feel permanent right up until the moment it is. But I don't miss the relationship we became. I miss the beginning, the version of us that existed before the cracks. I know now that trust doesn't break all at once. It dissolves slowly, in quiet decisions and unspoken choices. And once it's gone, there is no rebuilding it from memory. People say love is worth fighting for, but only when both people are fighting the same battle. I was fighting to stay. She was fighting to leave. So I let go. And now, finally, I am free.